Good morning, children. Hearty welcome to all of you for today's moral science session. Hope all are doing good. Okay, if you are ready, let's continue the lesson Values in Media. In our last class, we have discussed the advent or introduction of radio. Okay, so let's revise the portion that I taught you in the last class. So in our last class, we discussed the introduction of radio. Before radio, we had only print media. Which are the print media? Books and newspapers. Books and newspapers were the source of information available at that time. Later, a tremendous change occurred in the field of information transmission. Television, computer, internet, mobile phones, all forms of modern amenities came to your life. There is no escape from those equipments because we can't live without these electronic media. Am I right, children? Okay, so both advantages and disadvantages are there in the use of these things. Its misuse makes our life difficult. On one side, it is a rich source of information and entertainment. On the other side, it has negative influence on people, especially youngsters. In our last class, we have discussed two positive advantages and disadvantages of modern amenities each. Okay, so which are they? Yes, the first one is it's a huge source of information and knowledge. Any kind of information can be obtained through search engines like Google. It connects people. If we have an internet access, we can talk to our friends or family members across different countries. We can learn new languages, see different lands, shop the latest dress and all without leaving the comfort of our homes. So which are the two advantages of modern amenities? The first one, it's a huge source of information and knowledge. Any kind of information can be obtained through these search engines. Then the second one, it connects people. It shrinks the world. So if we have internet access, we can talk to our friends or family members across different countries within a short time. We can learn new languages also, see different lands, shop the latest dress and all without leaving the comfort of our bedroom. Okay, so the advantages are also there. At the same time, there are disadvantages are also there. So we have already discussed advantages. So the next one is disadvantages. So if we misuse these modern amenities or modern availabilities, there will be disadvantages also. So let us discuss the disadvantages that we discussed in our last class. So the first one, media expose false measure of beauty through advertisements. The advertisements of soaps, the advertisements of fair creams. Okay, so teenagers are deeply addicted in these types of campaigns and advertisements. Teenagers are deeply addicted in these types of campaigns and advertisements. Then what would be the result? They will get depressed by this. They will not get the advantages from this. They will not get any advantages from this. It's just expose false measure of beauty. So another disadvantage that we discussed in our last class is that it promotes negative behavior like violence, drug abuse, hatred, dislike, etc. Youngsters are addicted in virtual games or video games which contain an overload of violence, bloodshed, usage of bad words, etc., which destroy young minds. Okay, so I hope you understood the topic that I discussed in the last class. Children, read the lesson thoroughly and carefully. Okay, so let's move on to the new portion. So in this session, I will be discussed about choosing the right direction in handling the modern amenities like a television, computer, internet, mobile phones, etc. Understood? Now, I am going to discuss the concluding part of our lesson, the second part of our lesson. So in this session, I will be discussing about choosing the right direction in handling the modern amenities like a television, computer, internet, mobile phone, etc. Okay, so let me read the portion. Choosing the right direction. Being aware of the pros and cons of media will help you to be in control and make an intelligent use of its various forms. There is a story in Greek mythology about an island inhabited by nymphs whose music was said to have an enchanting effect on the listeners. Ships passing this island would hear the music and be unknowingly drawn to it, only to get their ships wrecked on the sharp rocks in the vicinity, subsequently losing their lives. Odysseus, the famous Greek hero, and his crew, not wishing to get trapped by the enchanting music, stopped up their ears with molded wax so that the music would not have an effect on them. Okay, so here see the word pros and cons. Have you seen the word pros and cons? What do you mean by pros and cons? Advantages and disadvantages. Pros and cons means advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so choosing the right direction. So we have to choose the right direction. By how? Let's see. So we have to control ourselves and make wise decisions in the use of these electronic media. There are 2-3 stories depicted in our lesson related to Greek mythology. You know what's the meaning of mythology? It's discussed in our last classes. Do you remember? Yes. So there are 2-3 stories depicted in our lesson related to Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, there are lots of stories related to nymphs, N-Y-M-P-H-S. What do you mean by nymphs, or who are nymphs? Nymphs are mythological characters. They are not real. Nymphs are mythological characters. Mythology represented nymphs as beautiful maidens or beautiful girls. Then, nymphs have an enchanting skill on music. Their music is said to have an attractive effect to the listeners. So it is said that ships passing the island of nymphs would hear the music and unknowingly attracted and moved towards that direction of the island of nymphs. Then what would be the result, children? Yes, their ships would be broken on the sharp rocks and all would die. Did you get the story, children? The story related to the nymphs. As I told you, nymphs, they are mythological characters. It's not real. In mythology, nymphs are represented as beautiful maidens or beautiful girls. They have an enchanting skill on music. Their music is said to be or said to have an attractive effect to the listeners. So, ships passing the island would hear the music and be unknowingly drawn to it, only to get their ships wrecked. What do you mean by wrecked? Broken on the sharp rocks in the vicinity. Subsequently, they would lose their lives. Odysseus, the famous Greek hero, and his crew. What did he do, children? Let us see. Odysseus, what did he do? Yes, the famous Greek hero, he found a solution to it. So, he and his crew, his sailors, did not want to get trapped by the enchanting music of the nymphs. So, what did he do, children? Yes, they stopped up their ears by using molded wax so that the music would not reach to their ears. So, how did he solve the problem, children? Yes, the famous Greek hero Odysseus found a solution. He and his sailors, they did not want to get trapped by the enchanting music of the nymphs. So they stopped their ears. They covered their ears by using molded wax so that the music would not reach to their ears. Okay, another story is there. There is another story. Let me read it. There is another story revolving around these magical nymphs. A captain named Jason took Orpheus, the great musician, with him while passing the island. As soon as the nymph started singing, Orpheus began playing the sweetest melody on his lyre, and that the sailors forgot to pay any attention to the destructive music of the nymphs. So, what is going on there, children? Another story. So, which is that story, children? It's a story related to the captain named James. So, what did he do to solve the problem, children? Yes, a captain named Jason. He took Orpheus. Who was Orpheus? The great musician. So, he took Orpheus with him while passing the island. As soon as the nymph started singing, Orpheus began playing the sweetest melody. Then the sailors forgot to pay any attention. They couldn't pay any attention to the destructive music of the nymphs. So, have you got these two characters, children? Odysseus. Odysseus found a solution to stop their ears by using molded wax. And Jason, the captain Jason, what did he do, children? Yes, he took Orpheus, the great musician, with him while passing the island. As soon as the nymph started singing, Orpheus began playing the sweetest melody on his lyre so that the sailors forgot to pay, or they couldn't pay any attention to the destructive music of the nymphs. Okay, have we got the two stories? So, let's see how these two stories related to our portion, which is our portion choosing the right direction in the use of the electronic media. Okay, so there is no doubt that the media is an indispensable part of the world we live in. Like Odysseus, it is not possible for us to completely shut out ourselves from all forms of media and avoid accessing it. However, like a Captain Jason, we can seek the positive aspects of this powerful tool and make beneficial use of it. For this, we need to cultivate certain good habits. So, as we know, media is an inevitable part of the world, or media is an inevitable part of the world we live in. We are living in such a kind of world. Okay, so we can't imagine a day without our mobile phones, like Odysseus and Captain Jason. We have to overcome the situation wisely. We can't avoid it. We can't avoid the electronic media. But we have to find the positive aspects of these powerful tools. Make use of it carefully. So for this, we have to practice certain good habits. So in order to make use of the electronic media carefully, we have to practice certain good habits. So let us see which are the good habits we have to practice. Exercise prudence. Use the power of discernment. Be disciplined. So what do you mean by prudence, children? Listen. Prudence is the ability to govern or discipline oneself by the use of reason. Prudence is the ability to govern or discipline oneself by the use of reason. Okay, so I'll give you the explanation, children. Exercise prudence. When choosing programs that you watch and the content that you read, being prudent means being conscious in practical matters. With the awareness that the wrong kind of information, videos, or content can distort your minds. Choose carefully what you decide to watch or read. Control and screen the information, deluge the media throws at you. So what's the content of this paragraph, children? Listen. So as I told you, prudence means the ability to govern or discipline oneself by the use of reason. So being wise enough, sorry children, be wise enough to select the programs that you watch or read. Did you get the sentence, children? Be wise enough to select the programs that you watch or read. If it is a wrong kind of information or video, it will affect your mind adversely. or it will affect your mind in an opposite direction. It's very sure, of course, it will mislead you. So, what should you do? You have to exercise prudence. You have to exercise prudence. That means you have to be wise enough to select the programs that you watch or read. Understood? That is what is exercise prudence. Choosing programs that you watch and the content that you read. You should be cautious. You should be aware of what you are watching or what you are reading. If it affects your mind adversely, you have to reject it. You have to throw it away. That is what is prudence. Ability to govern or discipline oneself by the use of reason. Okay. Second one, use the power of discernment. What do you mean by discernment? Ability to judge well. You know what's the duty or what's the role of a judge in a court. So, ability to judge well, whether it is right or not. So, use the power of discernment. Let me read the paragraph. Have you ever seen a farmer threshing and then winnowing the grain to separate the worthless chaff, not a chaff, children, chaff, from the essential grain? That is what you should do to the information available on the media. Distinguish the chaff from the grain and avoid worthless content. Absorb only that which will contribute towards either building character or knowledge. So, what's the meaning of discernment? Ability to judge well. Okay. Have you ever seen a farmer threshing and then winnowing the grain to separate the worthless chaff from the essential grain? I think you are very familiar with these scenes. Farmers separate the grain from hay by threshing and then winnowing the grain from the chaff. For what, children? In order to avoid a worthless chaff from the grain. Did you get the sentence, children? Farmers separate the grain from hay by threshing and then winnowing the grain in order to avoid the chaff, in order to avoid the worthless chaff from the grain. So, in order to make a rice, they have to work hard. First of all, they have to cultivate it, taking care of it. Then, when it is ripe enough, the farmers, they will cut it and bring it to the area where it is going to be threshed and then winnowing the grain from the chaff. It's a very hard-working procedure. Okay, so you have seen it. Here is the question. Have you ever seen a farmer threshing and then winnowing the grain to separate the worthless chaff from the essential grain? So when they cut the plant, they have to separate the grain from hay. By how, children? By threshing. Then after threshing, they have to winnowing it. They winnowing the grain, or they have to separate the grain from the worthless chaff by winnowing. So, have you seen that? Yes. That is what you should do to the information available on the media. What do you mean by that, children? You have to distinguish the chaff from the grain. You have to avoid worthless content. Understood? Avoid worthless informations or videos or contents available on the media. You have to accept only those which will promote or which will improve your character building or knowledge. Understood? So here, avoid worthless informations or avoid worthless videos or avoid worthless contents available on the media. Then what you have to do? You have to accept only those which will promote or improve your character building or knowledge. So this is what is comparing with a farmer. So what's a farmer doing? First of all, the farmer has to cultivate paddy. Then when it is ripe enough, he has to cut it down. And then what he would do? Yes, he wanted to separate it from the grain or separate it from the hay, not a grey, children, separate it from the hay. So he has to threshing it. He has to thresh it. Then he has to winnow it in order to separate the worthless shuff, CHA. So that procedure is compared to the mass media, the electronic media. So what do we have to do, children? We have to avoid worthless informations, videos and contents available on the media. Accept only those which will promote or this which will improve your character building or knowledge, or accept only those which are useful for your character building and knowledge. That is what is the use the power of discernment, ability to judge. Discernment means ability to judge. And the last one, be disciplined. You know what is discipline. So let me read it. The media can be very addictive and we could lose a lot of time in gaming, surfing the net or on social networks if we are not careful. It is very easy to lose track of time, become completely immersed in our virtual world. Besides distracting us from studies, outdoor activities, etc., the virtual world will gradually distance us from our real world, our family and community. It will also affect our health in the long run. So be disciplined and responsible and manage the time you spend on the internet, on the mobile phone or in front of the television. Okay, so let's see the content. Let me explain the paragraph. Be disciplined. Media is a fascinating one. What do you mean by fascinating, children? It's an attractive one. Many of the teenagers are addicted in virtual games, surfing the internet and so on. So, if we are not careful, it's easy for us to be completely involved in or completely interested in this virtual world. So, if you are completely interested in this virtual world, you will be away from your studies. You will be away from your outdoor activities. You will be away from your family and community. Then, very important thing, it will affect your health also. It will create problems to your eyes, your spinal cord, your concentration will be distracted. So children, you have to be disciplined. You have to manage the time you spend on the internet or in front of the television. That is what is the last point, children. Be disciplined. You have to take control of yourself. You should be disciplined and manage the time you spend on the internet and in front of the television. Okay. And intelligent human beings. As intelligent human beings, it's our responsibility to be aware of the influences media exerts on our attitudes and character. Being aware of the risk that exposure to media brings is the first step. The values and thoughts disseminated through mass media need to be absorbed or rejected according to their quality and content. Only then can we have a balanced approach to media and all that it has to offer. Okay, so be an intelligent human being. Be an intelligent human being. We should be cautious of the influences of media. We should be aware of the influences or the fascinating influential power of media. It will affect our attitudes and characters. If we are not disciplined in the use of our electronic media, we should know the risk that media exposes. So we should be wise enough to choose, or we should be wise enough to reject the values and thoughts of mass media. If it is not good, you have to reject it. If it is wise enough or if it is good enough, you have to choose it. Okay, so we should be wise enough to choose or reject the values and thoughts of mass media. If the quality is degraded, if the content is not good, we should reject it. Then only we have a balanced approach to media and its offers. Understood, children? Be an intelligent human being. It's our responsibility to be aware of the influence media exerts. So what do you mean by that sentence? We should be cautious. We should be aware of the fascinating influence of the media. So it will affect our attitudes and characters. If we are watching good thoughts, or if we are watching good videos, or if there is good content, it will affect our attitudes and characters. If we are not disciplined in the use of these electronic media, or if we are not managing the time we spend on the internet or in front of the television, it should be a risk in our life. It should make problems in our life. So we should know the risk that media poses. We should be wise enough to choose or reject the values and thoughts of mass media. Okay, so that is what is the content of this lesson, children. I hope you understood the lesson. So, what can you do? See, here is an assignment for you. What can you do? Identify few of the values that you have unknowingly imbibed from the media. If possible, think of both positive and negative ones. Did you understand the question? First of all, you have to identify a few values that you have imbibed, that you have taken unknowingly from the media. Understood? So first of all, think about the values that you have taken unknowingly from the media. Then you can write both positive and negative values. You can write both positive and negative values you have taken from the media. Okay, 3 is enough. 1 or 2 positive and the third one is negative, or 1 or 2 negative and the third one is positive. No problem. So you can write 3 values, both positive and negative ones, both are suitable. That is what is, you have to write the values that you have imbibed, that you have taken from the media unknowingly. Okay. The second question, in the light of what you have learned about using the media wisely, write down one decision you can take to begin with. See, 3 decisions are there. 3 important practices are there. Exercise prudence, use of discernment, be disciplined. All these 3 are very suitable in order to attain the success in your life in the usage of electronic media. So you can select, after reading the lesson as a whole, you can select one decision. Write down one decision that you can take to begin with. If you like prudence, you can select that one. If you like the power of discernment, you can write that. Or if you are going to be disciplined in the management of time, then you can select that one. No need to write it in the notebook, children. The second question, no need to write it in the notebook. You can write it in the notebook, not in the textbook. I think this space is not enough for you to write the whole answer as a suitable one. So the first question, you can write it in the textbook itself, the important values that you have taken from the media, positive and negative values. Second one, you can write it in your notebook along with the assignment. In the light of what you have learned about using the media wisely, write down one decision you can take to begin with. So you can select any one exercise. If you are going to practice prudence, you can select that one. Or if you are going to practice the power of discernment, you can select that one. Or if you are going to be disciplined, you can take that one, the third one. So any one is enough, or write down one decision you can take to begin with. I hope you understood the lesson. Children, read the lesson thoroughly and do the assignment and send it to me as early as possible in my WhatsApp. Okay. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.